Okay, I've been watching a lot of movies recently, but me and Lauren watch like 3 movies a day for the past like 2 weeks. Most of them being rom-coms, of course. Is there a better genre? No. While we were watching all these movies, I was just correlating them to books I've read because that's what I do with everything in my life. And then I was like, wait, kind of a good video idea to be like, if you like this movie, read this book, or if you like this book, watch this movie. Like books and movies that remind me of each other. Obviously they're not gonna be identical or else they would just adapt the book into a movie, but they have like similar tropes, characters, plot lines, stuff like that. So that's what today's video is going to be. So yeah, if you need rom-com recommendations for either books or movies, then this is the perfect video for you. Okay, so I actually recently read Better Than the Movies, and as I was reading it, I was like, I feel like I've read this before, or I know this from somewhere, like this plot, like I can predict what's gonna happen. Like I feel like I've watched this or read this before. And then I posted a video like explaining the synopsis of the book, and someone commented, actually a lot of people commented, and were like, is that not the plot of The Duff? And I was like, oh my god, it is. It is the plot of The Duff. I'm just gonna give the synopsis of the books. I hope that's okay, because that's like what my channel's about. So the book is basically about this girl growing up. She was childhood friends slash enemies with this one kid. They never really got along, but they were like neighborhood friends, and she's always had a crush on this other boy. When they're in high school, she somehow forms like an alliance slash agreement with her childhood friend enemy to help her crush notice her. So they like start fake dating and also like making him jealous and like pairing up and like plotting together to get her crush to notice her. As you can probably guess, the two of them end up falling for each other instead of the intended crush, which is exactly what happens in The Duff. I also forgot to add that they both have the trope where like the childhood friend, enemy, whatever, gives the girl a makeover thinking it will make the guy like her more, and they have like this whole makeover and it like kind of works. But then the guy's like, oh, I liked you better how you were before. Like they both have that trope. So if you like one, I know for a fact you'll like the other. I have kind of the same opinions on both the book and the movie. Like I found them both entertaining and good, but a little bit cringy. But like who doesn't like a little cringe now and then, you know? Okay, then the movie Safe Haven. If you haven't watched this movie, please watch it. I don't even know if it's a rom-com. I know it's a romance and it's kind of sad. I correlated this movie to this book as soon as I read it. I just read this book. It's called Things We Never Got Over, and I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. The reason I correlated these two was because it is the girl leaving her ex for a certain reason, moving to this small town and meeting someone. Both of these have the single parent trope, small town vibes, same exact kind of backstory of the female character with like an ex coming back into the picture. But I loved Things We Never Got Over so much. It wasn't like slow burn, but it also wasn't like quick. It's Grumpy Sunshine. I really recommend. I also wrote down a few other books that remind me of Safe Haven. All Roads Here by Mariana Zapata is the same small town vibe, single parent trope, not as similar, but still very good, very slow burn, Grumpy Sunshine. Forced proximity, like neighbor trope. And then I also thought of Archer's Voice because it's the same backstory with the female character, moving away from her hometown for a very specific reason to escape a situation and moving to a small secluded town. And Archer's Voice is one of my favorite books of all time, you know that. It's like soft boy trope and he's so adorable, and I just love this book so much, and it reminded me kind of Safe Haven with like the plot, just like the female character. Then I watched this movie like a few days ago. I've seen it a million times, but I just watched it and it reminded me of this book, Endless Love. And I really correlate this movie to the book The Summer of Broken Rules, because this movie is kind of this girl that like lost a sibling, which is exactly what happens in The Summer of Broken Rules. In the movie, she's falling in love with this boy and she's kind of rebelling against her parents for the first time and finally being happy after like this tragedy. Like the whole movie is just this one summer and this couple falling in love, and that's exactly The Summer of Broken Rules is kind of. This girl lost her sibling, goes on vacation with her family. It's set in Martha's Vineyard over a span of one summer, and it's her falling in love, and also just such a feel-good vibe. And also at the end of both of these, it's like the girl is going to college, like what will we do? So yeah, those two really remind me of each other as well. Okay, then my comfort movie, Love, Rosie. Ugh. This movie. I was trying to think of a comparable book, but I can't think of one that like sums it up. So I know this movie is based off a book, but I've never read it, so I correlated it to other books. There's not just one where I was like, this really feels like it sums up the vibe of Love, Rosie. If you don't know, Love, Rosie is like over a span of like 30 years of this couple just repeatedly missing each other. Childhood friends to lovers, but oh my god, the journey you watch over a span of 30 years, and these people cannot get it together and cannot make it work. And so I had to come up with a few books that reminded me of this movie because of like the repeatedly missing each other thing. You know, I had to relate it to Normal People because that's literally the whole plot of Normal People. I love Normal People. It has its own TV show adaptation, but I just really feel like it captures the longing and the like the essence of Love, Rosie, of like, you know we're meant to be, but the timing is never right. We try and it's never gonna work and something always happens. I feel like they both give you that same feeling on the inside, as well as A Love Letter to Whiskey by Candy Steiner. This is similar in the way that they meet when they're young and they're friends first. Eventually, slowly a relationship starts, but then they go to college in separate places and then they reunite again. One of them will have a boyfriend or a girlfriend, so they can't be together, but they always feel like this weird connection. And then one of them will move away for a job and the other one moves away for a job, and then they just keep missing each other, and it takes so long for them to finally get their shit together. And that's very similar to Love, Rosie, so that's why I picked that. If you like that realistic feeling that you get from reading those books, where you're just like, it just feels too real, like the miscommunications, the missing each other, it's not like a happy, fun, easy romance. It's like they have to put in the work. That's kind of what A Love Letter to Whiskey is. The last book that reminds me of this movie also reminds me of another movie. I would say it's a combination of Love, Rosie, because of like one similar trope that I can't tell you because it's a spoiler, and the movie The Best of Me, which is a Nicholas Spark adaptation, but it also fits this book, Room Hate by Penelope Ward. If you combined Love, Rosie and The Best of Me and you smash them together, you'd get something like Room Hate. So basically, Room Hate is about this guy and this girl that were friends growing up. They had a falling out, went their separate ways, and didn't speak for years. But then they both inherit a house from her grandma, I believe. It's in both of their names, so they both own it, and they both go there for the summer. It's like a beach house, and they're there at the same time. They reunite, and they like don't like each other because of this like falling out they had. He has a girlfriend, there's tension between them, and they've never really had the closure on their relationship that they like need to get, like what happened. Also, she had gone through some shit while he was gone, and now he's just finding out about it. Reminded me of Love, Rosie. Just kind of like the inheriting the house part is like exactly the trope of The Best of Me. If you haven't seen that movie, it's like they were lovers when they were in their teens, had a falling out, reunite like 20 years later when one of them's in a relationship because they inherit a house. So it's like the exact same thing, you know? So if you like those movies, you'll definitely like Room Hate. Okay, then the last song, which is Miley Cyrus and Liam Hemsworth, which is one of my favorite romance movies. Oh, I've rewatched it probably like a million times. This movie really reminds me of Heartbones by Colleen Hoover because of the summer romance vibe. And also, so basically the book is about Bea, who goes through a lot of shit in her hometown and is forced to move with her dad, who's rich and lives on the beach, which is exactly what happens in the last song. She moves in with her dad, and her dad's like a new family. She meets like the step siblings' friends, and she has a romance with one of them all over the span of this summer, set at the beach, which is exactly like the last song. And you watch like all their cute moments and their cute dates, and then there's like a plot twist. It really reminds me of Heartbones, but it also reminds me of The Simple Wild by K.A. Tucker. Love this book. And it reminds me of The Simple Wild, not in the setting, because The Simple Wild takes place in Alaska, which is like completely opposite. It's like freezing. The girl goes to stay with her dad again, that she hasn't seen since she was a kid, because she finds out he has a chronic illness. So she's like, I need to make the most of our time we have left together. So she goes to stay with him, and she meets this really grumpy guy that works for her dad. They fall in love. It reminds me of the last song because of the situation with the dad, which you'd have to have watched or read it to understand. And it's just kind of sad. This is like a sad connection, but I know if you like the movie, then you'll like these books. Okay, then I have the movie The Wedding Planner, which is not one of my favorites, but I think it is iconic still. Reminds me of The Worst Best Man. Obviously, the main connection is that the main girl is a wedding planner. Wow. In the movie, I'm pretty sure he's the groom that's like literally getting married, and then he ends up falling for the wedding planner. And then in The Worst Best Man, the best man ends up falling for the bride. So it's like the same kind of like forbidden trope. But yeah, I liked this book a lot. She got left at the altar years before by her fiance at the time, and her fiance's brother was the best man. She's convinced that the brother is the one that convinced him to leave her at the altar. So she hates him, so it's like enemies to lovers vibes, but then they're forced to work together, and so they have this forced proximity, and they end up falling for each other, and it's forbidden because she's already been engaged to his brother a few years ago. So yeah, that's that recommendation. I'm really getting a bunch of Matthew McConaughey movies in here. How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. I also just watched this one. This is a classic. I feel like everyone loves this movie. And when I was thinking of books for this idea, I was like thinking of fake dating tropes, but there's nothing that really embodies How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, because it's like they both make a bet to their friends or their coworkers that they could make the other one fall in love with them. So they're like fake dating each other, but they both plotted it. So I've never read anything where both of them made a bet. It's always usually one or the other. So the recommendations I have for this are kind of fake dating where one of them has an ulterior motive, but they actually do end up falling for each other. So I thought of The Soulmate Equation by Christina Lauren. Love this book. It's fake dating. He created this dating app where, based off like science and like your DNA and shit like that, I don't even know, you can find your soulmate. So he created this dating app, but he like doesn't believe in love, yet he created this app. I don't even know. The girl like signs up for it, whatever, and it ends up coming back that they are a perfect match. Their DNA says that they should be soulmates, soulmates, but they don't like each other. But he's like, I need to promote this app and we got a perfect match, so please fake date me for the media so that my app does well, because this is like great promotion. Like, I got a perfect match, like please fake date me, I'll pay you. She's like, okay, if you're paying me. So they're fake dating, and then there's like a reveal at the end, kind of like there was an ulterior motive. So yeah, that's why I recommended that. And it also kind of reminded me of Marriage for One, because that's marriage of convenience with an ulterior motive that you don't find out until like a reveal, which is similar to How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. I really liked Marriage for One a lot. If you like fake dating, marriage of convenience trope, I have a whole video dedicated to that, but you'll like these recommendations. Another one of my favorites is The Vow. Oh, it hurts. If you've seen it, you know. And this is also based off a true story. Like, what? Anyway, The Vow reminds me of All Your Perfects by Colleen Hoover. The reason it reminds me is not necessarily because the plots are similar, because in The Vow, it's about a couple, they're married, they're super in love, like soulmates, but they get in an accident and she loses her memory and doesn't remember him. And so he's in love with her, but she doesn't remember him. So it's kind of marriage in peril, and he's trying to get her to remember and like fall back in love with him. So heart-wrenching. And then All Your Perfects is also marriage in peril, but it deals with infertility, and it shows the couple falling in love when they were younger and then them married and in the future dealing with infertility and how it's affecting their marriage for the worst. Like, if you like the pain that The Vow brings you, it's the same pain that All Your Perfects will bring you. Okay, then A Walk to Remember. So sad, also a classic, reminds me of Full Tilt / All In duet. I can't even think about it. I'm not gonna even say anything of why they remind me of each other, because if you watch the movie then you probably know, but it kind of reminds me, but like flipped. Like, it's like good girl bad boy movie and then bad girl good boy book. I can't say anything without spoiling it. I literally can't, but I know if you liked one you'll like the other. So sad. But the book Full Tilt, that reminds me of A Walk to Remember, has a second book that like kind of heals your pain to an extent. I recommend it a lot. I love this duet so much. Okay, then I thought of Friends with Benefits, which is the movie with Mila Kunis. Also, I guess kind of No Strings Attached with Ashton Kutcher and Natalie Portman. Just watched both of these and they're very, very similar. It's friends with benefits, then they fall for each other. But I haven't read that many friends with benefits to lovers besides Ugly Love, but I feel like Ugly Love doesn't really fit that vibe of those two movies, because those are like rom-coms, and like Ugly Love I would not say is a rom-com. But it does remind me of the essence of the book Not Pretending Anymore. So basically the girl needs a roommate really bad because her roommate moved out, and she's like interviewing people and she can't find anyone until this guy's like, I need a place to stay, like I know you're looking for a girl roommate, but please let me live with you. And she's like, oh, fine, I'm desperate. And they end up living together, becoming really good friends, and they're trying to like help each other get with other people. Both of them are in love with someone else, and then they're using each other to like make their intended love interest jealous. They're like kind of fake dating and like kind of friends with benefits. It gives me the same kind of essence, like they're like pairing up as friends, but then it starts turning into more, and I felt like it really captured the vibe of these two movies, although I haven't read a lot of books that are friends with benefits to lovers. So if you have any recommendations, let me know, because I love these two movies. I could rewatch these two movies like back to back over and over. So I would love books that are like this, but it did remind me a lot of Not Pretending Anymore, just because of the jealousy and like the friendship, friends to lovers kind of trope. So yeah, was that the last one? Okay, no, the last one is 13 Going on 30, which is also a classic. I couldn't think of anything that like accurately correlates to this movie, because if you know, in this movie she time travels. I don't read like sci-fi romance, so like I don't know any books where they like time travel besides One Last Stop or like The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, but I haven't read either of those, so can't recommend them. But in this movie she has a childhood best friend. He like has a crush on her when they're young, and then she makes a wish that she wants to be older, so she suddenly wakes up the next day and she's 30, and she goes back to find her childhood best friend, and he's like, you haven't spoken to me in years, like why are you here now? And she's like, what the fuck, why haven't I spoken to you all this time? And they end up falling for each other, childhood friends like estranged to lovers. And that just reminded me of Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren. I felt like it kind of has the same essence. Love in Other Words is childhood friends to estranged to lovers, and the book is so entertaining because it's told in past and present perspective, and you see them falling in love as kids, but you know that it ends like something bad happens, and then you're watching them reunite years after this bad event that broke them up in the first place. You're watching them fall in love again as adults. It's not that similar, but if you liked one you'll definitely like the other, and I love Love in Other Words. Like I really, really recommend it. But yeah, those are all of my movie to book recommendations. I hope you guys enjoyed. I would love to do another video like this, but TV shows to book recommendations, because I already started planning it. So if you guys like this video and you want to see that, please let me know. With all that being said, if you want to follow me on my other social medias, they're all linked down below as always, and I'll see you in my next video very, very soon. Bye!